I'm just about to leave on family vacation for a week, and this project just finished up, and I don't want to wait like a week and a half to do this unboxing, because this, we probably know because it's the title and thumbnail, but this is the PPNW, aka the Perfect Pacific Northwest boot. My favorite style of boots, which are made in Spokane area, where they just take things to the most extreme, like everything's heavy duty. Everything's over the top because they were built as logger boots that then went to firefighting boots, and now they've kind of broken into the casual market. So you end up with this ridiculously overbuilt boot that is at the most extremes of boot making. But because it's at the most extreme, it comes at a cost. There's some issues with the P&W boots that a lot of people have, including myself, that are inherent to that over-the-top style of build. So this project, the PPNW, I mostly just like it because I'm a child and PPNW sounds funny, but it's an attempt to make my perfect Pacific Northwest boot and potentially have one of the boot makers up there make this as a collaboration. So we've been sitting on this video for 9 months now because I was gonna release it, but I wanted to make sure that this project was actually gonna happen, and we found someone to make it. We got the final prototypes here, and what started off as the PPNW, the Perfect Pacific Northwest boot, slowly became the Bear Slayers, because that's what I was really designing it for. I like this type of boot for out in the Idaho, top of Idaho country, hunting bears. It's logging trails, it's crazy brush, it's intense hiking up there. And so these are called Bear Slayers. And we got the real unboxing of these. I'm not gonna show you everything, coming out in a few days. And we've got the building of the PPNW that I'm unboxing in this video. On Anvil builds coming out in a few days as well. And these launch this month. And so get on that limited edition email list if you wanna get a pair of these. Limited 500 like usual. And yeah, I'm excited to do this. So thank you guys for your support. We're really trying to shift the way that we fund this channel away from all the sponsors that, you know, take that 90-second spot and talking about stuff that half the time nobody cares about. Obviously we got some good brands, but we're trying to move towards showing you more of the products we make, more of the collaborations we have planned. It's just cooler, it's more interesting, it's more aligned with what I love most about this brand and what we're doing. So thank you guys. Now back to 9 months ago me. Because I love those style of boots, but they're so heavy duty and they're so big. Sometimes I don't end up wearing them because I love those boots to death, but there are some issues. So what are those issues I have? Well, I hate that bite you get at the top of your foot because of all that leather coming together and trying to bend over the top of your foot. I wish they were able to box lace a little bit easier. They are so rigid. They're over the top, like if you're not needing them for the rigidity's a lot. And that's why I like that JKOT boot, or like the way that White's does, both those guys do that lineman shake. I think actually White's was first, now that I've like looked into a little bit more, but both of them, I love how they have that toe that flexes easier because they do, instead of a full length midsole, they do a lineman shank midsole that feathers down. I wish that the outer side of my foot didn't have such a high pressure spot with that style of boot where they have to wrap the upper underneath and it builds up that outside. I hate that part of those. And I wish the inside of your foot had just a little bit more arch support and it cradled your foot a little bit more while dropping the outside of your foot. They are the heaviest boots ever. They're like 2 pounds each, or just a little under 2 pounds. They usually come with like really sturdy, hard working leather that takes, like Nick says, 200 hours to break in their pair of boots, which is crazy, which, you know, it's a work boot, so there's all that caveat with it. But for casual wear, some of their work leather is so tough to break in. Another issue is I would like them to be a little bit more simplified construction to where you could repair them with a local cobbler, or even repair them at home. Because we've been working on a video, it's being able to repair your boots at home with basic tools. And so we took all those issues, all those ideas, and me and Taylor over the course of the last almost a year have been just playing with ideas and adjusting things and trying to come up with concepts based off all the boots and shoes that we've cut apart that could solve those issues into a single boot while still being able to be made by one of the Pacific Northwest brands. And so that's what this boot is. And Taylor has spent the last couple weeks putting this together while Brody's filmed it, and the Anvil Builds video is out on the Anvil Builds channel. So go watch that after this so you can see the whole process, what went into it and how it's all made. And one really cool thing about this that I don't know if Taylor did this on purpose or just was an accident, but these are made from the very first hide that I bought for this business, like 8 years ago. It's just been floating around because it was the wrong size, wrong thicknesses. It was just like useless leather for specific things that we were making, but it ends up making a really soft, malleable boot leather. The very first Rose Anvil boot that we've made, designed by us. It's not for sale. We're not getting into that territory, but I love the fact that the first boot that we've built is made from the very first hide I bought for this business. It's a cool cyclical thing. So now let's open it up and see how they look, try them on, and then see, I'll explain how we tried to fix all those issues I just went over. Okay, here we go. PPNW boot. Technically the first Rose Anvil boot ever made. Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, these look so good. It's honestly crazy how good Taylor is for how few boots he's built. Like if I looked at these, I'm like, oh, that guy's been making boots for quite a while. And Taylor's made like 10 pairs of boots. He is a natural talent. It's kind of crazy because these are done, like this is a prototype boot with a prototype pattern with leather that's not even really boot leather. And this is how good it looks. Oh, they turned out so good. So what did we actually do here? How did we fix this? What are our objectives that we tried to fix and how did we do them? Well, the first one is that bite across the top of your instep. The way we tried to fix that was by doing 2 little relief cuts on the 4th eyelet. And so that way you have less material to bunch up and it will flex more naturally and you won't get that really heavy bite right across your instep, in theory. The next thing was the box lacing. This is something I'm actually pretty excited about and I think is a really good idea. And I'm surprised nobody else has done this. So box lacing, if you don't know, is a really handy technique for when you're breaking in boots and you get that bite across your instep. You can lace your boots to kind of skip that area, which is kind of a pain because if you're out in a fire or you're working, you don't want to unlace all your boots, lace them back up, especially if you're hiking and you don't have the time to stop like that. And so this concept is to be able to convert to box lacing immediately without any extra work. Because we go eyelet, speed hook, eyelet, all you have to do when you want to go to box lacing is just unloop that one speed hook between the 2 eyelets. Now all of a sudden, you've got box lacing. And you can tuck your little laces into the speed hooks, and then all you have to do is tighten up your boot. But you don't have to like undo any eyelets. You just skip that and then re-tie them at the top. Because that's way easier to do, just that little bit of unlacing and then relacing it, then unlacing your boots, pulling it through the eyelets, taking your boot off, rethreading it through the eyelets, and then relacing it. So now you can see if you have all that pressure in there, and if these cutouts don't solve that issue, now you don't have your lacing crossing in front of your instep, and all that leather doesn't get bunched up. It'll flex more naturally, and once you're ready to lace them back up normally, you don't have to take them home and do it on your kitchen table. You just literally untie them, put them back on the speed hooks, and you're good to go. That's up there with my favorite parts of this boot. The next thing was the rigidity. Like we said, we solved that by the way that Whites and JK do it by skiving down that midsole, feathering it down to a point so that you have just the leather insole on the inside and the midsole, that rubber slip sole, on the outside, so that you have a lot less material to bend, making them significantly more flexible. Now to some more of the tricky bits. Lowering that outside part of the construction, because when they tuck all that leather in there, it builds up that arch or the outside of your foot area, and it's a pain to break those in. And so what we did was, the concept was to shift the counter back and the counter cover back so there's less material wrapped under while still doing a 360 construction, so even less material gets wrapped under. So it's a bare minimum material wrapped under that side of your foot. And so you can see this is a counter cover that goes along with the quarter panel line, inspired by the World War I style boots, so that you have as little material wrapped underneath your foot as possible, and it just looks really cool. I love the look of it. And then if you flip it to the other side, we fixed the additional arch support by doing a similar thing, but instead of cutting it off at the quarter panel, we extended it as far as we could so that you have more material wrapped underneath your foot. And then the counter, similar to like almost how the Aldens do it, you have actually very similar to how Alden does it. Your counter ends here prematurely, so it's not even wrapped underneath that area, but it sweeps all the way around the back, then all the way down to deep inside the arch. So you have a ton of material wrapped underneath your foot. So you have a lot more natural of a footprint where you have a built up arch and a lower outside of your foot. And it just looks cool. I think it turned out so cool. The next thing was the simplified construction. That's why we did the 360 stitch down construction. So instead of the nailed heel, some of these other ways of doing things, it's just very basic, very simple. Things that you could repair at home. Any cobbler can repair this. You could hand sew it back together if you needed to. And really the only other thing that we didn't do is I want to do a 7-inch boot rather than a 8-inch boot or a 6-inch boot. I feel like that 7-inch mark combines a sweet spot between the 6-inch boot's not giving you enough leverage over that instep to get it to bend and it's more painful, versus the 8-inch boot is really, really tall and it's not really needed for a lot of things. So I think the final version will be a 7-inch boot. I think Taylor absolutely nailed it. It honestly is crazy that this is the very first time we've made this boot. It's the first attempt and it turned out this good. And we also built it on a Munson last, a little bit of a modified Munson last. We're might be working on a unique last, I don't know. I'll probably do a separate video in like a month of like, did it actually work? Did the PPNW boot work? Or do we need to go back to the drawing board? So let's try them on. Let's try the left foot on first and see how we do. Okay, placed. Matching rose amble kilties. Shameless plug of our 8-inch kiltie with the fringe and little slots so you can tuck your laces in. Okay, let's try it. Ooh, I like it. It's like a glove, almost like I got the exact last I wanted and modified it to my foot. Oh yeah, I'm so excited about this. Okay, now let's see how this speed lacing, or this jacked up lacing system we designed actually works. Okay, that's doable. Just kind of crisscross them a little bit. That didn't work as well. Okay, so maybe we gotta figure out how to make that a little bit easier. I don't know, or maybe I just don't know how to do it very well. Woo, fits the dainty ankles too. I met some guy in public who came up to me and was like, "Hey bro, I got lads too. It's the worst." I'm like, "What up? Same, skinny ankle." Okay, let's try the right foot. Okay, this time I'm gonna put these on and see if I can get this lacing system to work. Like if I were actually putting these on at the end of the day, because they'd probably already be on the speed hooks. So I would just slip my toes in there, pop it down. And then I guess you'd pull from here on that point. So yeah, you'd go tighten here, then you'd pull here. That tightens up everything else without having to deal with the speed hooks coming undone. I can show you guys how to do that, the fancy lacing if you want. Grab your laces, give it a couple fingers in between, and you're gonna go like this. See that? That's how the cool kids do it. Not me though. It takes too long. I'm not very good at it. Okay. Oh. Yeah, I think we did it. That's crazy. The way that we did the outside, I don't feel any of that high pressure. And on the inside, you can feel that counter all the way to the inside of your foot, giving you that support. I think we did it. Okay, let's try the bending. Let me get these laces out of the way so you can see it bending. Oh yeah. See that? No bunched up leather. It still bunches up. It's still gonna be like a pain to break in. But see how those flanges kind of go over top of each other and get out of each other's way? Yup. Okay, let's pretend you're on the fire line. You got a hot spot. You're getting that bite across the top of your foot. How would we do this lacing? So what you would do is unhook there. Or maybe you do that after. And then you pull up the slack. Maybe you want to do it. Yeah, maybe you want to do it first. And then do your knot. Oh yeah, that makes a big difference. And because it's a fully gusseted tongue, dirt's gonna get in there, but you can easily get it out. Okay, so now let me try it the other way. So if I need to retighten it, this time I'm just gonna untie them. It's not that hard to do. Undo the speed hooks, pull our little loops out, give me a old crisscross, and then lace them back up. That's so much faster and easier than undoing the eyelets. Wow, that actually works. Cool. Okay, well, I guess I take one off for the outro. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm gonna try to get one of the brands, the Pacific Northwest brands, to make this pattern because I really like this pattern, and I want to be able to not just commit this to one single collaboration. I want to be able to use elements from our own pattern that we developed here in several different boots. So I'm going to see if JK wants to make this boot, probably, because they've got the OT boot that's really, really close to this, and we based some of the design off of it. And yeah, once again, Taylor absolutely killed it. I think these turned out so nice, especially for the first attempt. As we've been learning and because the thing is, like, we just bought all that equipment, but we're not masters at it. We're learning on those new machines. We're learning how to maintain them. We're learning how to set them up. And all of that is done through the lens of this boot and everything that we've been doing on Rose Anvil builds to try to pay that off, to up our abilities and skills so that we can actually make cool stuff like this without it costing us $1,000 to make a pair of boots. So go watch this boot being made on the Rose Anvil Builds channel, because that channel needs some help. It's a slow growing one, but we're trying to get it to a point where it's self-sustaining and running, and it's not there yet. So go over and watch that, support that channel if you can, and keep a lookout for when this collaboration drops, if it ever drops. So we'll make sure you're on the limited edition email list via links in the description, because that's who gets early access and all the information of when these collaborations drop and where they're at. So thank you guys. This is so cool. You know, it's like the very first hide I bought, however many years later, now it's being used on the very first boot that we've designed in-house and made in-house. It's pretty cool. So thank you guys for all your support, making all this possible. I love doing this, and it's exciting and fun. It's a dream job. It's everything plays a part in getting to this point, and I'm very grateful for it. So thank you. See ya.